All right, let's dive into a story that's about so much more than just art. It's really about a massive cultural collision. We're talking celebrity, censorship, and this one wild moment in time when a handful of simple drawings forced an entire nation to question its own rules.
You know, the best way to get your head around this story is to think of it kind of like a Fluxus box. It's this collection of seemingly random things that, once you open it up and start looking, reveal this fascinating, totally nonlinear story. It's just a jumble of art, politics, family ambition, and a whole lot of scandal. So, ready? Let's open the box. We're going to unpack the incredible, true story of John Lennon's Bag One exhibition and the insane trial that came right after it.
Every great story has that one moment where everything just changes, right? For this one, the first thing we're pulling out of our box is easily the most dramatic: a full-on police raid.
Okay, so picture this. The scene is the super prestigious London Arts Gallery on New Bond Street. And the event? It's the world premiere of John Lennon's very first art portfolio, a series of lithographs he called Bag One.
So the art itself, well, it intimately showed scenes from John and Yoko Ono's honeymoon. And the reaction was immediate and, let's just say, strong. One visitor, a woman named Nancy Creer, was so shocked she literally left the gallery and called the police.
And the police? They took it really seriously. We're talking officers from Scotland Yard's Obscene Publications Squad. Yep, they were informally known as the Dirty Squad, who marched right into the gallery and confiscated 8 of the 14 drawings. This wasn't just some minor disturbance, folks. This was an official police action against one of the most famous people in the world.
So, you've got to be wondering, what on earth was in these drawings that could cause such an uproar? Well, to get that, we have to pull another item from our box and really understand the artist himself and the powerful message he was trying to send.
Now, what's so interesting here is just how much Lennon had changed. By the end of the decade, he had completely transformed from that lovable mop-top Beatle into a true iconoclast. He was using his massive platform for activism, most famously with his bed-ins for peace. His activism was really playful but also deeply serious. He and Yoko came up with this term bagism during their peace campaign. It was this satirical idea that if we all just lived in bags, nobody could judge us by our appearance. I mean, it was a pretty clever critique of prejudice and stereotypes, right?
And this is the crucial point. These drawings weren't just for shock value. Not at all. They were a direct extension of his message. The whole Bag One portfolio was a celebration of his marriage to Yoko, and it framed their love and intimacy as a kind of peace protest in a world that felt like it was tearing itself apart.
But look, an artist's message needs a platform to be heard. The next item from our box introduces us to the really ambitious couple who gave him that platform, and, in the process, they risked absolutely everything they had built.
Let me introduce you to Eugene and Barbara Schuster. They were this brilliant young couple from Detroit. Eugene actually won a prestigious Fulbright scholarship to study art history in London. And what started as a side hustle for them, selling individual prints from old art books, it just exploded into a transatlantic art empire.
And their gallery, it wasn't some back alley operation. No way. The London Arts Gallery was a serious, highly respected business on New Bond Street. They were showing old masters like Rembrandt and Dürer right alongside modern giants like Picasso. So their decision to host Lennon's explicit drawings, well, that was a huge, high-stakes, and very ambitious risk.
So, okay, we've got a controversial artist and a high-stakes gallery. But why in the world did a few drawings provoke a full-blown police raid? To get that, we need to pull out the last and maybe the most important item from our box, the cultural context of the time.
The late 1960s, man, it was a time of intense social turmoil. The Vietnam War was raging, anti-war protests and riots were common, and there was this massive generational divide. It really felt like the world was at war with itself.
And in that kind of climate, the authorities were cracking down, and cracking down hard, on what they saw as this permissive countercultural movement. From music to art to protests, the establishment was pushing back against anything that dared to challenge the status quo. And Lennon's art, it landed smack dab in the middle of this battle.
So the stage was set for a legal showdown that was about so much more than just a few drawings. On one side, you had the prosecution arguing this was just indecent, that it had no artistic merit. But on the other, the defense claimed it was a valid artistic statement, a message of freedom, and, this is key, that it was all displayed in a private space. This wasn't just a trial about art, it was a trial about ideas.
So, we've unpacked all the items from our box: the art,
the artist, the gallery, and the cultural moment. Now let's put it all together. What does this strange, dramatic affair really tell us about the power of art?
The entire trial, and this is wild, hinged on this fascinating little legal distinction. The defense's whole argument was that because you couldn't see the obscene prints from the street, you had to walk into a separate, marked area to see them. The gallery patrons weren't the general public being unwillingly exposed. No, they were private visitors who had made a conscious choice to be there.
And this just perfectly illustrates the core of the whole issue. It's a lot like Yoko Ono's conceptual art, like her all-white chess set, where players can't easily tell their pieces apart and they have to question the very rules of the game. That's what this whole affair did. It forced everyone to question the rules of art, of decency, and of the law itself.
In the end, the magistrate actually ruled in favor of the gallery, and the lithographs were returned. But the Bag One affair, it remains such a powerful story about that tense and often really blurry line between artistic expression and censorship. And it forces us to ask, where do we draw that line? And maybe more importantly, who gets to decide?